Stop. Do not touch that update button. I know your phone is showing you the Android 15 notification right now. I know it says new features and better performance, and your finger's hovering right over that install button. But if you tap that button before finishing this video, you could permanently damage your phone experience in ways that are extremely difficult to reverse. I have spent weeks researching exactly what Android 15 does to your device, what it takes away, what it breaks, what it changes, without asking you, and what Google is not telling you in those shiny promotional videos. By the end of this video, you will know exactly whether you should update, whether you should wait, or whether you should avoid this update completely based on your specific phone and your specific situation. This is the video I wish someone had made before I updated, so let us get straight into it. The moment Android 15 started rolling out, thousands of users around the world began reporting serious problems. Not minor glitches, not small cosmetic issues, serious, real-world problems that affected how their phones worked every single day. Battery life, collapsing by 30 to 40% overnight. Apps that worked perfectly on Android 14 suddenly freezing, crashing, or refusing to open at all. Bluetooth connectivity breaking, meaning earbuds, car systems, and smartwatches disconnecting randomly and constantly. Fingerprint sensors becoming unreliable and slow. Phone heating up even when sitting idle on a table doing absolutely nothing. These are not problems that a quick restart fixes. These are deep system-level issues that come in with the update and do not leave easily, and the people experiencing them are not doing anything wrong. They simply updated when their phone told them to, trusting that Google had tested everything properly. So, let us talk about what Android 15 actually is and what Google is claiming it brings to your device. Android 15 is Google's latest major operating system update for Android smartphones. Google announced it with a lot of excitement, focusing on new privacy features, improved performance for high-end devices, better multitasking, satellite connectivity support, smarter notification management, and a range of health and fitness integrations. On paper, it sounds impressive. On paper, every Android update sounds impressive. The promotional material is always polished and exciting. But the reality of what happens when these updates hit millions of different Android devices, made by Samsung, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, Realme, OnePlus, Motorola, and dozens of other manufacturers, is a very different story from what Google shows in its carefully controlled demo videos. Here is something critically important that most people do not understand about Android updates. Android is not like iPhone. When Apple releases iOS 18, every iPhone that supports it gets the exact same update. Apple controls both the hardware and the software, so they can test everything thoroughly before release. Android is completely different. Google releases the base Android 15 code, and then every single manufacturer, Samsung, Xiaomi, Oppo, Realme, OnePlus, Motorola, and all the others, takes that code and modifies it heavily to work with their own custom interface and their own hardware. Samsung turns it into One UI. Xiaomi turns it into HyperOS or MIUI. Oppo turns it into ColorOS. Each of these versions is essentially a different operating system built on top of Android 15. And each one has its own bugs, its own incompatibilities, and its own problems that Google has absolutely no control over once it leaves their hands. This is exactly why Android 15 is causing wildly different experiences on different phones. On a Google Pixel 9, Android 15 runs relatively smoothly because Google makes both the phone and the software. But on a Samsung Galaxy running One UI on top of Android 15 or a Xiaomi running HyperOS on top of Android 15, the situation is completely different. The layers of software create new conflicts, new bugs, and new performance issues that simply did not exist before the update. Now let us go through the specific problems that real users are experiencing right now, because this is the information that will directly affect your decision. The battery drain issue is the most widespread complaint, and it is affecting devices across almost every brand. Users who updated to Android 15 are reporting that their phones now last significantly fewer hours on a single charge compared to before the update. In many cases, the difference is dramatic. Phones that comfortably lasted a full day are now dying by early afternoon. The reason behind this is that Android 15 introduced new background processes and new system services that run constantly. These processes were designed to power new features like better health tracking integration and improved satellite connectivity awareness. But on millions of devices that do not even support those features, these background processes still run, consuming battery power for features the phone will never actually use. The app compatibility problem is the second major issue, and it is causing serious frustration for people who depend on specific applications for their work and daily life. Android 15 introduced stricter security policies around how apps access certain system functions. This is actually a well-intentioned security improvement, but the unintended consequence is that thousands of apps that were built and tested on Android 13 and Android 14 now behave unpredictably on Android 15. Banking apps in multiple countries have reported authentication failures after the update. VPN applications are experiencing connectivity drops. Some camera applications from third parties are unable to access the camera properly. Social media apps are showing notification delays. For regular users who depend on these apps every single day, these are not acceptable trade-offs for new features they may never use. The performance paradox is perhaps the most ironic problem with Android 15. Google marketed this update partly as a performance improvement, faster app loading, smoother animations, better memory management, and on the latest flagship devices with the most powerful processors and large amounts of RAM, this is somewhat true. But on mid-range devices, which represent the vast majority of Android phones actually being used by real people around the world, Android 15 is actually making performance worse. The new system features consume RAM and processing power that older mid-range chips were not designed to spare. The result is more stuttering, slower app switching, and a general feeling that the phone has become less responsive after the update, which is the exact opposite of what was promised. For users in Pakistan and across South Asia, this point is particularly important because the most popular Android phones in this region are mid-range devices, phones in the 20,000 to 60,000 rupee range from Samsung, Realme, Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo. These are exactly the devices that are most vulnerable to the performance degradation problems in Android 15. If you are using a phone in this price range and you update to Android 15, there's a significant chance your phone will feel noticeably slower and your battery will last shorter than before the update. There is another issue that has not gotten nearly enough attention, and it involves privacy. Specifically, new data collection that Android 15 enables by default that most users have no idea about. Android 15 introduced new health and wellness integration features. These features are designed to work with Google's health ecosystem, and they involve the operating system collecting data about your physical activity, your device usage patterns, and in some implementations, your location data, all to power smarter health recommendations and integrations with services like Google Fit and third-party health apps. The problem is that these data collection features are enabled by default. You have to actively go into your settings and disable them if you do not want this information being collected and sent to Google servers. Most users will never know these features exist. They will update their phone, notice nothing different, and carry on while their device quietly collects and transmits health and activity data in the background. Now here is the most important part of this entire video, what you should actually do based on your specific situation right now. If you are using a Google Pixel 8 or Pixel 9, updating to Android 15 is relatively safe. These devices are specifically designed and optimized for Android 15, and Google has tested this combination most thoroughly. You will likely get genuine improvements in security and some useful new features, without the severe performance issues that other brands are experiencing. If you're using a Samsung Galaxy from the S23 or S24 series, wait. Samsung's One UI update on top of Android 15 is still being refined and patched. Samsung is aware of the battery and performance issues and is actively working on fixes through software patches. Waiting another 4 to 6 weeks before updating will give Samsung time to release a more stable version of their Android 15 implementation. If you're using a mid-range phone from Xiaomi, Realme, Oppo, Vivo, or Motorola, wait significantly longer or consider not updating at all for the time being. These manufacturers take the longest to optimize their custom interfaces for new Android versions, and their mid-range devices are the most likely to experience performance degradation. The update will still be available in 3 or 6 months, and it will be in much better shape by then. If you're using an older phone, anything more than 3 years old, approach Android 15 with extreme caution. Older hardware was not designed with Android 15's requirements in mind, and the system overhead of the new features can make older devices feel genuinely unusable after the update. In many cases, staying on your current Android version is the better choice for older devices. Now, let us talk about what to do if you have already updated and you are experiencing these problems. The first thing to do is go into your settings, find battery, and look for battery usage details. Identify which apps and which system processes are consuming the most power since the update. Go to Settings, then Apps. Find any app that is consuming excessive battery and restrict its background activity. This will not completely fix the battery drain issue, but it can reduce it significantly. The second step is to disable the new health and activity features that Android 15 enables by default. Go to Settings, then Digital, Wellbeing, or Health and Fitness, depending on your phone manufacturer, and turn off automatic activity tracking and health data collection if you did not actively choose to enable these features. The third step is to check if your phone manufacturer has released any patch updates since the initial Android 15 rollout. Samsung, Xiaomi, and others have been releasing rapid patches to address the most critical issues. Go to Settings, then Software Update, and check for any available patches. These patches are not the same as waiting for Android 16. They are targeted fixes for the specific problems people are reporting right now. The fourth step: if your phone is performing so badly after the Android 15 update that it is genuinely affecting your daily life, is to contact your phone manufacturer's support. In some cases, manufacturers are offering guided solutions or even rollback assistance for severely affected devices. This is not always possible, and it is not always easy, but it is an option worth exploring if the situation is serious. The fifth and most powerful step for extreme cases, if your phone has become genuinely unusable after the update, is a factory reset combined with a clean reinstall of Android 15. This is a drastic step because it will erase everything on your device, so only do this if you have a complete backup. But a factory reset removes all the corrupted cache files, conflicting app data, and leftover settings from the previous Android version that are often the root cause of the worst post-update performance issues. Many users who did a clean factory reset after updating to Android 15 reported dramatically better performance, compared to those who updated directly over their existing Android 14 installation. Here's the bottom line that every Android user needs to walk away from this video understanding. Software updates are not always improvements. They are not always safe. They are not always tested on your specific device. The update available notification your phone shows you is not a command. It is a suggestion. And sometimes the smartest thing you can do with a software update is wait. Wait for the early problems to be identified. Wait for the patches to be released. Wait for the community of users worldwide to report back on whether the update is stable, then update from a position of knowledge rather than impulse. Your phone is one of the most important tools in your daily life. It connects you to your work, your family, your finances, your information. A bad update can disrupt all of that in ways that take weeks to resolve. You have the right to make an informed decision about what software runs on your device. That is exactly what this video gave you today. Share this with every Android user you know, because right now, millions of people are about to tap that update button without knowing any of this. You can help them make a smarter choice. Stay informed, stay protected. And before you ever update again, watch the reviews first.